goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine. Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Connington, joined by my fellow co-hosts and filmmakers, John and Elaine Wolfscroft.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, guys. So, we're on episode 6.
Yeah.
We made it through the first month.
Still
The
here.
Fighting Six.
The Fighting Six. We're still here. We're still strong. We did have to not broadcast last week, though. Mainly because we ran out of episodes.
I got 8. Oh, I'm sorry. What? No, it's okay.
Well, I'll tell you, I had a terrible cold, so you guys didn't even want to hear me hack and spit and gag my way through an
Unless
episode,
that's
so.
like your thing.
I mean, unless you're into that.
Unless you're into that sort of
no
thing.
judgment. No judgment. Just usually not my thing.
Yeah. I mean, and on top of that, like, for me, because I teach, I do an adjunct teaching for Chatham University, and that was, like, the finals week. So it was, I mean, you guys remember this stuff back then.
Oh, yeah.
It was, madhouse, getting things ready for the survey, and it was just kind of crazy. So we weren't able to record. But, I mean, hey, that gives you a week to catch up on all 5 episodes.
Back catalog.
So, and right now we're standing at around 116 downloads for the first month, which I think is pretty damn good. For
We
a
appreciate
brand
all the
spanking
downloads,
new
guys.
Yeah. If you download
podcast.
it, download it again. Listen again.
Download
Tell a
it
friend.
again.
Tell a
a friend. Spread it all over your social media.
Slather it upon your own person.
Even if you don't like us, just tell people to listen to us.
Just say,
because,
hey,
like,
listen to
these a-holes.
Listen to these assholes. They tore apart Troll 2, and they don't like Batman versus Superman. The other thing, too, is, I mean, this is really important. We're new, so we want to know what we can improve upon. So if you could review our show, review our episodes, tell us what you think works, what you think might not work, and, just give us some feedback. That helps us so we produce a better show, in my opinion.
And we genuinely do mean that. If you have something negative to say, please share. Just
yeah.
don't be a dick for no reason,
Yeah.
but please share if
Yeah.
you have criticisms or things you think that can be improved or worked upon.
I mean, if you tell us that we're all going to go to hell, I mean, we already know that.
Yeah. We're good.
I've got Lake of Fire front property already. So, I mean...
Or don't just spew a bunch of racist or homophobic or sexist comments for the sake of it, just to anger other
that's not
commenters.
cool. That's not cool. So
No trolls on our troll,
no trolls.
too.
I mean, no trolls on the troll, too.
But, thankfully we were able to take that week, and I don't know about you guys, but I purified myself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka.
Is that really
That's your transition?
You
Yeah.
are incredible.
Oh, you know who else did? Prince. And unfortunately...
Well,
No,
we lost Prince and China
I know, in the
Yes.
same day.
on the same
And
fucking
I feel like a lot of
day.
people cared about more one person than the other.
Well, yeah, I am actually a huge wrestling fan. I'm willing to admit that. So the news about China dying was a huge shock for me. Still being a wrestling fan.
Did you look at her porn afterwards?
You had to fap in honor of her. No, I was kidding.
Oh my god!
No, I've never seen her porn, any of her porn career videos.
I have. I've seen it.
Backdoor to China.
Here's the thing. I guess that someone took them all down.
Oh,
There was like one left, and it was the worst quality I'd ever.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
But honestly, the Prince thing I think hit people a lot more.
I think so too. I mean, I thought as far as China goes, the Mick Foley tribute, he had written a really nice.
Mick Foley played Mankind
Message.
and Cactus Jack.
Yeah, he wrote a really
wrestling.
nice message about her and how she had kind of, treated his daughter as, like a family member and how they'd been close and stuff. And I thought that was sweet. It was a nice way to remember somebody because, I mean, they do have a cause of death for China where they don't for Prince. I mean, she did die of a drug overdose.
That's
so.
what they. I didn't know it was
overdose.
prescription drugs.
Yeah.
See, that is the thing that kills me is you're
shame.
losing so many people over something that is legal. Like you could, and honestly, like it's the same thing with like Michael Jackson. He had the same thing where he had doctors because of their status, their celebrity status, who just go ahead and give prescription drugs like it's nothing. Mm-hmm. And you see that shit happening with people like Heath Ledger. Same thing. It was the same exact thing.
Well, and especially in his case, because Heath Ledger.
Well, no, he was killed by like Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen.
Really, you're gonna go with that?
No,
really.
Well, Heath Ledger had so many different doctors that weren't communicating with each other either, and I think that that's a disservice to healthcare as well, because obviously he was able to get in with a number of different doctors, being a famous actor, but in the end, I mean, that wasn't good for his health or good for any part of the situation, because he had too much going on and there was no physician overseeing his entire care. Now they don't even have a cause of death for Prince yet.
No, and the thing is,
apparently we're on day 11. Okay.
Yes, and this is the most bizarre fucking thing ever. And I've noticed this whenever a certain celebrity, big celebrities die. I think they did this with Bowie too. Is they do this whole day 11 of the investigation. And this one I found on USA Today. The title of it, the headline, quite literally is Prince's Death, Day 11, His Last Meal, more tributes. So if you were curious about Prince's diet prior to him passing, this is pretty much it. I mean, were you, John? I mean, this is just the most bizarre.
I actually wrote a dissertation in college about what Prince eats for dinner.
Well, apparently he didn't eat meat. And that towards the end of his life, he was not eating anything really that could be hard to digest. That's what this article pretty much says. They talked to his chef, who spoke to him who cooked for him for the past 3 years, and basically said he ate potatoes and some type of weird North African sauce called harissa chamurla.
Yeah, harissa's really spicy.
It's really spicy.
It's good. It's hot. It's hot, but it's really good.
And minestrone soup. So, I mean, just a lot of things that it's just the weirdest thing to go
But
ahead
it's not
and
what
read.
I expected Prince to eat. I expected him to be a sashimi king. You know what I mean? Just
I kind of
exotic
thought
stuff,
that too.
or a lot of raw
something that
fish.
was purple. Anything, just purple foods.
Purple potatoes.
Eggplant. Just eat an eggplant.
Yeah.
Well, too, I mean, I think it's raised a lot of interesting questions. I mean, not only about his death, but you guys know he died without a will, right?
I didn't know that.
He has no will.
That
and he's
is...
they're estimating right now he's worth about $300 million, but that's counting, that's taking into account unreleased music that he's still been working on. And now, of course, the sales of his music have been exploding since he died. He has one sibling who has been kind of overseeing things. He has a sister. I mean, but he was only 57 years old. And he didn't.
Obviously he's been around since the 80s, so that's not surprising. But Prince never, to me, looked like he was 57 years old.
No.
Now, the way he would dress,
that's kind of. Yeah. I mean, does any celebrity ever look?
I think
their
after
age?
50,
Nick Nolte looks like he's 110.
It's true.
He looks over his age.
I think after 50, Prince started wearing pants a lot more, though, and that's maybe how he turned it around. But no, I mean,
instead of just mopily looking at us from the bathtub, while the camera dollied in on him.
But it's just also another facet of it. He didn't have a will, so he has, and he has no spouse or children or living parents.
Wow.
And he has this $300 million,
that's insane.
His estate.
All the money goes to Carmen Electra, I feel, then.
Yeah, I mean, all of his stuff. I mean, it's something that they're battling with right now.
Did you guys? Was it just me, or does this not seem to be as big of a story as honestly I thought it would be? Prince is one of the biggest names in the history of rock and roll. He died not insanely young, but still way, way, way younger than anybody should pass away.
You know what? Honestly, that's a criticism I've seen from a lot of people, is that they don't, especially friends of mine who are African American. For them, Prince was David Bowie.
Yeah.
That's it. The way that most people
freak out when
David Bowie passed away. That's the same thing.
I don't know, guys. I mean, I only have my own experience, but I was at work and everybody in my office lost their shit.
Yeah,
we all wanted to go home. We were done with the day. We were nope.
From a media perspective, I don't think it's been as big of a deal as say Bowie was.
I can't say that I watch a lot of TV though, so I don't really know.
I don't have cable
coverage wise. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just because too. I remember when Michael Jackson died. That was a big deal. Man. But I had the free time to be watching CNN in the middle of the day, so I don't know.
Children got to go back outside.
Hey, whoa. We're free to play outside again, yay!
Oh my God! Seriously?
He always makes it so dark. Why do we keep inviting him?
What? He had sex with children. I mean, You guys know that, right?
We know.
Listen.
We're talking about Prince, though. I don't
We're
want to
talking
take
about
anything
Prince.
away.
The only thing that Prince has a knock against him is that he created Bat Dance. Okay?
But that's like a good thing, though. Dude, I found this old video for Bat Dance. It's like the video for it.
I found the video, and then also I found the one that was for, what the hell is it? It was another Batman music video. They
Okay.
had 2 of them.
Did you see the one where they're like, there's a whole
It was
bunch
Party
of...
Man.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's a whole bunch of like Vicky Vales and like a whole bunch of Jokers. That's Bat Dance.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
the
a
classic
good
Bat
video.
Dance.
I was really excited because he's half like Joker, half Batman. The costuming and the makeup's amazing. It's so cool.
Well, you know he created a character for the series of like that's not Batman Joker. It's a character he created called Gemini.
Which is
No
now
joke.
canon.
No way.
Yes.
Why isn't he in like the comics? That'd be so cool.
He created a character that was a split Gemini. That look it up.
Awesome, I will.
And like I didn't know there was a second Batman music video because I had the album when I was a kid. Okay, yeah,
Street
you have
cred.
the album over there.
Street cred
I had it
for you.
on cassette, and I played that thing till it broke. Okay, and I like as a kid, you're on 5, 6 years old. You're like, yeah, Bat Dance, woo. As an adult, you're like, oh my god, seriously? Oh god, he's pulling out. He's actually has it.
At least
Okay.
he's pulling out the
major
soundtrack. You made that
motion
sound
picture
really
song.
bad.
Okay, well that's the soundtrack. Is that the soundtrack or is it the because they did one that was classical?
I have the actual Danny Elfman composition, but this is the Prince album.
Okay, that's the Prince album because there are 2.
We should like play that later. Just
Well,
in
copy
memoriam.
We can't leave
Can't
it
do
here.
that.
I'll sing as much as we're allowed. Party. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
I didn't mean here. I meant like just socially. We should do it later
yeah.
and just
Yeah.
like do a shot for Prince.
Yeah, but Party Man, that is hilarious. It's a hilarious music video.
Oh, nice!
I didn't even know
that one.
existed.
I haven't seen. I'll have to check that one out. But I mean, obviously, like it's a huge sadness
Yeah.
to the musical community. I mean, I think it's a huge loss. I mean, I haven't, like I said, I haven't really seen that much TV this week. But for
It's
it,
been tributes left
but
and
for
right.
that's, I mean, that's good. I mean, for it to be that way, I just
Bruce
I
Springsteen
found-
sung Purple Rain. I saw that.
Oh yeah, I,
found
did
what
see
Saturday
that.
Night Live did was a little classless.
That was weird. Did you see the
I
Saturday
didn't see.
Night
What did they
Live?
do?
Well, what they did is they took a lot of the sketches they did that were about Prince, which is,
Prince
when
show.
you're a public person, like it's okay, like you put yourself up for ridicule, and
Right.
and when you're alive, it's fine. But to be like, hey, we're gonna honor you by re-airing sketches where we make fun of you, seems like an odd thing to do to somebody
too,
who
it was
just
the
died.
same. I mean, the sketch was just a very paint by the numbers kind of thing. I mean, I don't know if you're super familiar with it, but it's Maya Rudolph as Beyonce, and then
Like
Fred
Prince has his own
Armisen
talk
plays
show.
Okay.
Prince as his own talk show, and she's like his co-host or whatever. And it's just like very basic, like. He does something goofy. He makes the guest
Quirkiness
sit on
ensues.
somebody weird. It's just like very much the same thing. Now, I didn't see the whole episode. I only saw like 3 of the skits, I think, and I was like, okay, this is I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
because it was just all in a row. It was like really boring after a while. So I don't know if they aired like performances or if they had like literally anything else. But I thought that was just, it was a strange way to honor.
Yeah.
I thought maybe not even just because like, oh well, you can't make fun of somebody. Like, I mean, I'm not in that camp necessarily. It
Clearly,
just-
I mean, he just made fun of Michael Jackson.
Oh, I
And
mean,
again, but I mean, I think
I'm
that's,
sorry, I made fun of the child molester. Let's
No,
not
hey,
put Jerry Sandusky
I
over here.
I am fully
Or
okay
Jared
with that,
Fogle.
but that's just
right. But I mean,
No,
and I'm
I
not saying
get
you
it.
can't make fun of somebody just because they're gone. But I just
to
didn't
do it
think
right
that
after they
it
die,
was-
and then to guise it as a tribute.
Well,
I think.
and
you
I mean,
know.
the skits weren't funny. That's what offended me. Like, I didn't think they were funny, like, or clever. So.
you think they would have picked,
it
maybe
was-
like really good.
And it was the
sketches.
same thing, like 5 times in a row. It was like boring. So I don't know. I didn't think they quite hit the mark there. I thought they kind of missed things a little bit there. So
Yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, we had 2 people that died. One who was accused of being too feminine as a man, and one that was accused of being too masculine as a woman, and had a lot of, underlying sexism that they both had to deal with, which actually happens to be what we're talking about today.
Oh my fucking
Dealing-
god!
you did
With
it.
Seriously,
gender
you were
and
able
movies.
to take Prince in China dying and convert it to a transition to our
Thank
movie.
you.
I really don't think we know what we're dealing with
Wow.
here, Brian.
Wow.
I think
I
that
didn't think it
he's
was
on
possible,
He's on a
but-
higher plane.
Yeah. So tonight's movie. Holy shit, man!
Okay, so
You're gonna have to take lead on this one.
I
Elaine.
can take lead on this one for sure. So all right, so the movie is Now and Then. So one of my
kind of a gross
mainstays.
It's from 1995. You know, by
It's,
far
you know-
one of the worst years in movies.
Right,
begin
but
with.
I mean,
Braveheart won Best Picture.
so
Yeah, Batman
I mean,
Forever
Let me just
came out,
set
though,
the
too.
scene,
Yes.
okay? Like you're a 11-year-old girl.
12. It was 12.
Well, no, they're 12. I mean, I'm talking about my experience.
You were 11. Okay.
Yeah, so like, you know, you talk about these well, I guess I was 10. But like, I mean, you're like a 10-year-old girl. You're trying to navigate very difficult social like obstacles, I guess. Like, you know,
it's pre-puberty, but you're not a little kid anymore.
No, and you're trying to navigate things, and I mean, this is like the movie that you watch where you kind of see how that can play out. Now, I mean, there's a lot that I'm not crazy about, you know, with the conventions of the film. So it's a pretty basic frame story where we see these, you know, women as they're grown up, and then we flash back then to the summer of 1970.
Yes, that's correct.
Where-
I watched it today.
Yeah, I thought it was 70.
It's fresh.
It's fresh. And so they flash back to the summer of 1970, and it's about the summer kind of before everything changed. Now, they were 12, you know, and all of the characters have something fairly tumultuous in their lives going on. But I think what's positive about it is that it does a good job, I think, of illustrating the positivity that can be seen through female friendships. And that's something that we don't see a lot of now. Now, the writer of the film, Marlene King, that's going to be a familiar name to a lot of people, maybe not people who listen to this podcast, but the creator of Pretty Little Liars. And she's created something in Pretty Little Liars. Now, not necessarily this past season so much, but previous seasons has been very much about the power of friendship and the positivity that can come through that, because I think a lot of times women are shown as being competitive and bitchy and snarky, and there's no grace or like beauty in the way that they relate to each other, and I don't think that that's true, you know?
Well, I think that's interesting that you should bring that up, because I think this whole episode is more about the overly male-dominated world of filmmaking, and how, you know, there is a level of sexism in that. They have something called the celluloid ceiling, where if you actually look at the percentage of female individuals in the profession of filmmaking, 18% of all directors, mainstream directors, are women. 9% of them are directors, 15% are writers, a quarter of them are producers, but this is actually a staggering number. 2% of women are cinematographers, 20% editors, and so the numbers
What's funny about the editor
are awfully low.
number is that it's actually back in the day. Females
You didn't bring that up.
were
very
the primary editors.
Very common. Well,
Like,
they thought it was women's work. They thought it was
It was
meticulous.
like quilting, yes.
Yep, like quilting.
And what a lot of people don't know is a lot of the famous movies from back in the day, like, for example, Alfred Hitchcock, he had a female editor. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
That was a person, and his wife, you know, helped out edit Psycho at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of bizarre that you see it now. It's gone down.
Oh yeah.
from
Well,
that.
I think that there's a lot of misrepresentation, and I think that we do see that a lot of times in the art itself. I mean, I feel like this film, while not perfect, it gets a lot of stuff right, because I think female writer, again, and Marlene King isn't just some nobody. I mean, she's made something very powerful for herself with the shows that she's created since, but it's also a female director. Now, the director, she was mostly a television director.
Yeah.
This is kind of her only main.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's one of my
feature.
biggest criticisms about this film. Well, I completely. Well, I mean, do you kind of want to give the main plot?
Yeah,
like, who are
sure.
the
So, I
characters
mean, like,
that
from
we're
a
dealing
storytelling standpoint, you know, we have 4 friends.
Roberta, Teeny. I'm looking at the IMDb. That's how I know
Roberta,
this.
Teeny,
Samantha,
Chrissy,
and Chrissy.
And Sam. It's Sam.
Okay, and
Yes.
who plays him as kids? Who plays him as adults?
Okay,
Let's kind of break that
so
down.
Sam is Gabby Hoffman, and I know it by heart.
Oh, you
but
know it by
thank
heart?
you.
Okay, I'm trying to make it easier for Elaine by
Yeah,
showing the IMDb. but-
I'm
It's Demi
good.
Moore then, right?
Yeah, so Gabby Hoffman turns into Demi Moore, who plays
Yep.
Sam. Thora Birch turns into Melanie Griffith, who plays Teeny. In a cruel twist of fate, Christina Ricci turns into Rosie O'Donnell.
that's a hell I wouldn't
As
wish on my
Roberta.
worst enemy.
Who plays me as an adult? Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh, And then joke's on them because Christina Ricci looks the exact same fucking person as she did then.
And
Whatevs.
she's smoking hot.
She's super hot. And then Ashley Aston Moore turned into Rita Wilson to play Chrissy. Now, Ashley Aston Moore has since passed away. She died as a child. Yeah.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah. She died very young, not too long after the film was made. I think she.
Oh, wow.
Because I think they were like. I think they were like in their. I think they were like 15 when they made it. You know, because they usually get the actors a little older. I don't think she saw her 21st birthday.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really sad. Because I always thought she was so funny in the movie. You know, like it's never like fun being the Chrissy of your group.
No,
but, like,
no one wants to be the Chrissy.
No one wants to be the Chrissy, but it's still funny.
Well, you know, you also had like some staples here of 90s teen movies. You had Devon Sawa in it.
Oh, that's right, Devon Sawa. We didn't talk about this
as
yet.
Scott Warmer. Okay, you got the Warmer brothers. You also have Cloris Leachman as the crazy grandma.
That's right. Oh, she's funny in this too. And then Janine
Garofalo plays.
Well.
Her actual name in the movie is Willa Dean. Okay?
Yeah.
You have Hank Azaria's in it too as Bud Kent, the guy with the spinach stuck in his.
He's the one dating Sam's mom after Sam's parents get separated.
And you also have Bonnie Hunt in it for like 5 minutes.
She plays Chrissy's terrifying mother.
Yeah.
And I totally lied.
And you know who else was in this? Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, he's the vet. He's the
He
one
plays-
Vietnam
he's-
vet.
Veteran.
He plays the hippie veteran, you know, who gives him cigarettes. So he's a bad influence.
And I was wrong about Ashley Aston Moore. She died at 26.
Okay.
And that was in 2007.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so Lane, give us a breakdown.
Okay, so
of
we
the
have
plot
4
here.
friends who kind of embark on this like summer of their adventures. They want to raise money to make this treehouse so that they have some place to go, you know, for their own.
They want independence. That's the thing.
Exactly. Their own space. And it's funny because over the summer they end up finding their own space from each other, and that doesn't turn out to be a bad thing because they do make a pact that they would, you know, be there for each other anytime anyone needs them. So it's the 4 of them. They're raising money for the treehouse. They kind of get caught off on a couple of little like side adventures. You know, they have the Dear Johnny adventure.
Well, that's the main one.
Yeah, and that's like part of things where they're trying to figure out what's going on. They do a seance with you know, the particular character, and they go to try to find out how Dear Johnny died because a bunch of spooky stuff happens. You know, that when you're like 12, you're like, holy shit, this is really profound. So that's sort of the main, I guess, the mystery part of it. You know, they have to, you know, go to the library a couple of towns over, and they kind of figure out how it wraps into this like old man that they see around town.
Crazy Pete.
And you know, they go through all of that, and in the background, you know, Roberta's still trying to cope with the loss of her mother who had died. Sam's parents are about to divorce, which like is not a thing that you've heard of. Like it was
Back
very
then,
uncommon
it was
for the
very
time.
Uncommon, yes.
And then Teeny's parents don't care about her at all. and then Chrissy's mom keeps trying to tell Chrissy like about the world and just fails miserably. So like Chrissy has no idea how anything works. Like as evidenced in the famous line, "Have you ever French kissed a boy?" Are you kidding? I don't want to get pregnant. So like Chrissy doesn't know how anything works.
And
sort of
how
awesome.
apparently planting seeds and water, like that's apparently how babies are made.
Well, that's how her mom explains sex to her. It's terrible. So
this is very much, you know, it's a coming of age story
Yes.
Yeah,
for girls.
absolutely.
And usually that is kept for the male demographic.
Right,
Like,
which is
kind of the female version of Stand By Me.
It is, but it's framed by the story of, you know, now in the present, Rita Wilson, who's playing Chrissy as well. She's about to have her first child, and she, you know, kind of raises the friend bat signal and like wants her girls with her, you know, during this time. Yeah. That's not like my favorite part of the story because like I just don't think that having a child is like the pinnacle of your existence.
Well,
I don't feel like that's fair.
Like,
you know,
The film's kind of a letdown. That's
there are a couple of things that really piss me off about the movie. Okay, one, I am totally with you about the coming of age film for females. I definitely get that. I think this movie does an okay job, but I think that it misses the mark on just like a couple things. Like it's very on the surface. It doesn't like I think one of the things, and this is one of the I read a couple of reviews about the movie. About the movie, and one of the big things I saw was that it's on the surface very soap opera like. It's very Lifetime type movie, but it doesn't dive deep down to the psychology of what's going on with these kids. Like, everything's kind of like, oh, well, Samantha's her parents are going through divorce. And you have kind of the only psychology of it being that dinner with, Hank Azaria's character and mom, and that's it. But it doesn't go any further than that, and it jumps from one thing to the other without any type of cohesive thing.
Well, you can see a little bit of it too. I mean, like when she's trying to read at night when her parents are fighting and her little sister comes and crawls in bed with her, you kind of see like the part of their relationship that's falling apart. So like when Sam is still in the house with both of her parents, it's like the night her dad leaves. Right, and the yelling has upset her little sister. I think they could have
gone further into that.
Oh, they could have, absolutely.
Like, and automatically I think of a successful movie that did that was Radio Flyer. Did you guys ever see Radio Flyer?
I don't think so. I haven't.
Okay, that movie deals with domestic, not necessarily violence, but just, fights between parents and divorce in such a very powerful way. Mm-hmm. And, this was kind of just, they're fighting beneath me. And I get that, and I understand that. I mean, I came from a divorced family, too. And I had many nights where it was very much, you can hear mom and dad screaming downstairs. But it didn't get into any more than that, and it wasn't, and it jumped too quick, in my opinion, from, okay, the mom is breaking up with the dad's leaving, and then suddenly, the next day, the new guy's coming in?
No, I mean, it was couple
very
weeks
difficult
later.
to have to try to portray that many separate characters, give them all screen time.
Right, and I get that.
It's not apples to apples, but you look at a movie like Nashville, and a lot of things are just kind of, that movie, a Robert Altman film that has tons of characters, and a lot of stuff is left open or moved past, because when you have that many characters in that kind of situation, it's harder, because you're not just doing an arc of one person, you're doing so many that.
And the other thing too that really I thought could have been used much more was the adult characters. They were used only 2 times, at the beginning and at the end. Why didn't we go into more about why did they not talk to each other afterwards?
That's what I would have liked.
Why couldn't we have jumped like that? Yeah. There was conflict. I could see some conflict within the story in the past, but there was no real conflict between the characters. I mean, you got a little bit of it, like Sam and Teenie kind of like they're hot shit, out in Hollywood or the city, and they really don't talk to Rosie O'Donnell's character and Rita Rose's character. But I would have liked to have seen more of that. You know?
I think that's one of the parts where it fails. I think it's like more getting caught up in the romanticized notion of like we were really close friends when we were little, and then we like drifted apart, and then it's a romantic notion where it's like, I know we haven't talked in forever, but I really need you. And that's more romantic from a writing standpoint.
I guess my thing though is that you have to choose which one you're going to be. Mm-hmm. Are you going to be a serious movie that is supposed to be a coming-of-age film where you are dealing with deep issues that honestly, kids are going through? Like, here's my other thing too. Why didn't any of them like get the period?
Yeah,
that's a serious thing. That's a real thing, and that scares the shit out of people the first time they're going through it.
By the time you're 12, though, you probably have it already. Though you're probably almost used to it by then, because I was 11 when I got my first one.
But I'm just saying, like, those are issues.
Well, that's something that's inherently female.
Okay.
And that's something that maybe they didn't want to cover, necessarily. I mean, because if you look at the characters, I mean, Teenie's kind of boy crazy and Chrissy's kind of a priss.
Yeah, I kind of got that.
But, Sam and Roberta aren't very,
right.
Overly, feminine. And there's nothing that's even a little bit wrong with that. Like, that's fine.
I just think this movie stopped short of how far it could go.
I mean, it could have. I mean, if anybody were to get their period in the movie, I think it would have been most interesting for it to be Roberta, because she represses so much of her changing.
Right.
And two, she doesn't have a mom to explain it to her.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. There are a lot of pieces.
It could have been there.
Made it a very powerful thing. And
but that makes the film, very female. And I think that, with John illustrating the numbers of how low women are in films, like making a movie like and even talking about periods, like we do not talk about periods in society at all.
Yeah, in 1995, that might have been a little touchy for what essentially was a family movie. Like, you could take the family like Carrie, obviously, that movie, opens up with her getting her period. That's
supposed to be a horror.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's a horror movie, so they can have a little more leeway with that. But this movie, they might have said, "Oh, well, you can't."
That's what I'm saying. Like, I just don't think that it really would have worked. I mean, because people don't talk about that, which is a separate side pet peeve of mine because like periods affect half of the world.
That's
so
what
why
I'm saying.
don't we talk about
I
them?
think it should be talked about.
Yeah.
It's more than half.
And I think,
honestly.
I guess for me, I look at it as, and honestly, I do think it's a time period thing. I think in 1995, they wouldn't go nearly as far as maybe you have now.
Maybe.
I mean, you have like even I look at shows from the past 10 years like Nip Tuck, which had a lot of things in there that were very adultish, and especially with the teenage character in that show.
Is that Ryan Murphy as well?
That's Ryan Murphy.
That's what
yeah.
I thought. Okay.
So
yeah.
I mean,
of course.
that was a show that at the time very risque on premium cable that went to some places in a family setting that one you could say was twisted, and it is, but they dealt with things that nowadays I think aren't quite as taboo.
Mm-hmm.
It was 95. We were all wearing flannel. Jonathan Taylor Thomas was relevant.
Well,
it was
too,
a long time ago.
If you want to talk about, boundary pushing coming of age stories, I mean, Dawson's Creek didn't come until 3 years later.
That's true.
So 98, that was Dawson's Creek. And I mean, that was something that, for better or worse, I mean, with the show itself, but I mean, that was a show that was talking about a lot of issues that nobody was talking about at the time.
Right. And I think that's, I guess for me, I think a coming of age film should deal with really hard.
Sure. And for me, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Dawson's Creek is like the pinnacle of depth and like
No,
they didn't tackle like,
No, it's
like
not.
Ugandan war. Like, I mean, it was a
No.
very surface show, but I'm just saying, with a lot of the relationship with Joey and Dawson and, of like, kind of like coming into your own as a human being and like kind of like getting onto the other side of puberty and like
Right.
seeing what that landscape looks like, so.
Well, the movie we that we're talking about now and then, it does meet a few of the requirements or breaks through some of the things that a lot of people see as barriers for a lot of movies or projects that involve women. One of them is the Smurfette principle. The idea that there
The
is
Smurfette principle?
basically what it refers to a trope found in TV and movies where there is only one female in an all-male ensemble situation, like April O'Neil to the Ninja Turtles, Elaine Bennis on Seinfeld.
Yeah.
This very much has an entire female principal cast where they're not just scenery for the men that are having a story. Princess Leia in Star Wars, that kind of situation.
I will say that I find it refreshing, especially for a movie this time, that with a lot of these movies you see like romance is the key thing. I think we were talking about this before. That this isn't it. It's not that.
And
it was nice to see that.
This passes the Bechdel-Wallace test.
The what?
So the Bechdel
Yes, please
test.
tell us more about this.
The Bechdel test tests whether a work of fiction features at least two women who talk to each other about something other than men.
Dudes.
Other than men. And so this would pass.
Oh, absolutely.
This movie would pass. Like I said,
but not a lot of movies do.
There's a lot that they get right in this film. I mean, I think for some of it, I think you can tell that there must have been deleted scenes or something that were taken out because some of the flow doesn't quite make sense.
No.
I'm not sure if the editor was a man or a woman, but I don't think that the editing was that great.
I could tell you in about 5 seconds.
Thank you,
IMDb.
So
it was a woman.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think that the editing was as successful as it could
Jacqueline
have been.
Combas.
I don't think the editing was that great.
No, and I mean, I think that personally, I think the younger cast is phenomenal.
Oh my god, they're wonderful.
They are
and then the
wonderful.
adult ones are like terrible, and you're like,
terrible.
what?
And honestly, I
none
think
of those women are very good actresses. The adult
It's true.
ones.
Well, I think what they did in the production meeting is they said, okay, we have this script about 4 young girls and this coming of age film. How can we go ahead and make this profitable?
Well,
And so they went ahead and they found the 4 biggest stars of the time, and
those 4 women were a big deal in '95,
and that's what I'm saying.
Rosie
They were.
O'Donnell was huge, and I don't mean that in a sexist way. I mean in popularity.
Right, but I mean, I think that's exactly what it was, and I think that's honestly why they were not featured as much as they could have been, and I think because they literally said we can't afford to go ahead and have Rosie
long.
O'Donnell, Demi Moore, Melanie Griffith, and Rita Wilson on scene through most of the movie, so we're gonna have to go ahead and pay them for maybe 2 days of work to go ahead and come in. Demi gets to do voiceover, which pops in every 15, 20 minutes in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it is mostly from Sam's perspective.
Correct. But I think that is the problem with it, is that, you've got these actors who were the biggest female actors at the time, and they could have done more, and their characters, like, I can't, I mean, if I didn't know what their names were, You know, I wouldn't be able to go ahead and place which one was which.
Really? See,
Yeah.
I don't think the casting was terrible. Like, I thought that Thora Birch to Melanie Griffith was pretty good, and Ashley Aston Moore to Rita Wilson was pretty good.
Yeah, but they're playing kind of like the stereotypical versions of these very deep characters.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, you
Like,
know,
that's kind of what I saw it
Sam
was.
was like a very smart and like intuitive little girl, and she just became the writer, you know? Like, that seemed like a little bit
and
much.
honestly, but
And they'll have great jobs too.
They
like
all do
writers
have
and
great jobs.
actors
Well, I mean,
and-
that's something that Marlene King is very guilty of. Like, anybody that has heard my opinions about Pretty Little Liars this past season, it's that the girls all immediately got very aspirational jobs with, like, very little work. Like, I'll tell you what, you can shut me up in, like, a underground, you know, life-size dollhouse from hell, like on Pretty Little Liars, if it means I get whatever job I want. Like, that's fine.
Right.
Like, because all four of the characters on that show have, like, these great jobs.
Yeah.
Like, so that's, I mean that's classic Marlene.
yeah,
for
I just think that, you know, the biggest criticism of it is just that you have a great cast with the teenagers, but these adult actors just do not do enough.
Well, I think it's funny, too, because, I mean, Ashley Aston Moore is fairly unknown. She didn't do too much other than this film. But the other three actresses were very, very common, like,
I mean, they were
child
up and coming
actresses. They
as
knew.
child actors, yeah.
By the time they had done this film, I mean, Christina Ricci had done, like, 4 or 5 movies already.
Correct.
she would arguably be
least.
the most well known.
I would say.
You know,
But, I
Thora
mean,
Birch continued.
Yeah,
to
Thora
work,
Birch
but-
continued to work, and Gabby Hoffman's
Well,
continued to work. She was just in the
Thora
Veronica
Birch
Mars
pretty
movie.
much, after this movie, she took over with the indie scene, you know?
She did.
She did Ghost World and
American Beauty.
Mm-hmm.
especially. So, I mean, that's... you guys could say that for some of these child actors, it was pretty much a jumping off point. I mean, except for, you know, obviously Christina Ricci, because Addams Family was her jumping off point.
She'd already had quite a bit, you know,
yeah,
to her
but-
to her credit. But now Christina's doing the Lizzie Borden Chronicles.
I haven't seen that. Is that any
Dude,
good?
no. Well, I mean, we haven't watched the Chronicles, but we watched the first film.
Yeah.
I mean, we can totally watch
It's
it for the
lifetime
pantheon of
garbage.
shit if you want.
Is it
It's
that
really
bad? Oh,
It's
God.
really
It's not as terrible as, say, Tiptoes, which we'll get to
Oh, jeez.
later.
Oh my god, I'm so excited.
But
You all have
not
that to
great.
look forward to.
Yeah, it's not great.
For people who don't know what Tiptoes is, do you want to preview them? You want to leave them in suspense?
We'll put the trailer up maybe on the site.
We're gonna throw the trailer up with
So that
this
y'all know.
with
I will
with the
just-
show credits on this one.
I will just leave you with just this little nugget of information. Gary Oldman is a little nugget.
Oh God! Are you
Yeah.
fucking kidding me?
Gary
the
Oldman plays
worst.
a little person, and that's all you need to know.
It's the worst.
Oh Jesus Christ! I didn't even know that film existed. By the way, yeah,
I think Gary Oldman would like you to forget it exists.
Yeah, I think he would too. But no, regarding this movie, I thought that it does a lot of it that's successful, but there are some parts that honestly, and I was even telling you, and I'll just leave this as the closing thing out here, is the scene where Sam gets the bright idea to go inside of a storm drain as it's raining
Oh, I know.
over, get this, a bracelet that she got 5 minutes ago.
It was a friendship bracelet
But-
from Teeny.
But
I have to.
it was 5 minutes ago.
If I have to explain it to you, Brian, you'll never understand.
No, but I'm just sorry. It's very simple. She could have got another friendship bracelet from Teeny and not potentially died.
But Teeny like clipped it from her own thing, so it like bonded them together, Brian.
You know, but I mean, I've lost things in drains too, but you don't see me climbing down inside of a storm drain while it's raining. That's the key thing. While it's raining.
See, I don't go into storm drains because I'm afraid that some clown is going to ask me if it floats.
It's
And
true.
tell me
It floats down here.
floats down here, Danny.
That is good advice. That is good.
And that's
advice.
another coming of age film called It.
Is it a coming?
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it
very much
is.
And it's very similar to this
There's
movie.
a dead kid in that one too.
Because, yeah, it deals with adult versions.
Let
and
me
kid
tell you
versions.
something. I learned a lot. And John, I think you learned a lot about life by watching It. One of the things is, don't go down storm drains. That's what I learned.
A lesson that you learned that they did
Okay.
not have in 1970. All right, Sam and Teeny didn't know. They didn't know.
But I think, is this the greatest film of all time? Absolutely not. But I think what this film does is it's a good representation of women in film.
Yeah.
That is not just some pandering chick flick or
I'd say
or
that it is
ridiculous,
definitely better than most Lifetime films.
And it's sad that this has to be the representation of what a good film is for women, because as we pointed out, statistically they are just not considered important. And just kind of an ending thing here. I find it very odd. I understand way back in the day when, it was it's the 18 to 34-year-old male, because men were chauvinist pigs and gave their wives allowances and things like that. So it's okay, well, men are the ones that purchase everything. We've gotten a lot more of equality now, so I don't know why the demographic is still the 18 to 34 male, not the 18 to 34-year-old human.
Well, I mean, there's still a lot of biases there. I mean, women still aren't paid as much as men.
Right.
Which is a huge thing that shouldn't
be bullshit.
True anymore, So, I mean, I think we're still seeing a lot of, inequality, and I think too, we're not seeing a lot of good storytelling in general. And I know next week we'll talk about this more because we have a show for you guys, about remakes and kind of the lack of originality you don't want to miss in Hollywood. So I mean, we'll talk about that more, but I just think that there's a lack of good storytelling anyway. But I think to see four women in friendship together as a positive light, I think that is important. Is it perfect? No. But at least it was a precursor then to something that did kind of run for a number of years, with Marlene's development of Pretty Little Liars. Now, it was rumored that Marlene was going to be doing a show of Now and Then, that they were going to be rebooting it. It was announced, but I don't think it's made it past the developmental stage.
I don't think, honestly, I don't think that this movie should be remade. I think that another movie in the same vein.
Oh, it'd be great. Should
be made for this era. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of things in there that were honestly, if you were born in the past 10 to 15 years, you're not going to understand. Well,
what's actually kind of disturbing if you think about it, the film's 20 years apart. So if they made the movie now, it would be about 1995 when they were adults in the first one.
And I'm going to go throw up. Thanks, John.
Thanks. You just made all of us feel really fucking old.
Wow.
Okay?
That's terrible.
We'll all play some Sega, watch some Home Improvement.
Yeah, but I just think that this type of movie should be made now to, apply to today's world. Because today's world's a little bit more complex. I just think that there should be
more stories where women aren't acting aggressive towards each other or just talking about boys. I mean,
absolutely.
There's way too much of that right now.
Absolutely. Okay, cool.
So yeah,
well, I do want, before we close out, I do want to make just a quick announcement. So I've been posting on Facebook for the past couple of weeks about kind of a call for indie filmmakers. Okay, we're all independent filmmakers here. We all make our own work. We've all gone through the process of just trying to get feedback on our work to make it better. Okay, and also get publicity for work, because honestly, when at the end of the day, if you make a movie and you don't have an audience, have you really made a movie?
Does a bear shit in the woods?
That's the same question. It's the same question. So what we're going to try to do here for future episodes is get independent films. So I'm asking you, the listeners who are filmmakers, if you have a short film that you want to get publicity, that you want to get a review on. There are some websites out there, I'm not going to name them, but they charge for reviews. Did you know that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. They fucking charge. We're not going to charge for reviews. But all you have to do is contact us on Facebook, on Twitter at Psycho Show, or you can find us at our website cinemapsychoshow.com and contact us, send us a YouTube or Vimeo link of your movie. We'll watch it. We will give you our honest opinion. And honestly, when I say we're going to give you our honest opinion, that means if it's a shitty film, we're going to say that it's not good.
We'll be as constructive as
possible.
But
we'll be as constructive and say, here's what works, here's what doesn't work, here's what you should improve upon. We're not going to obviously give you the Troll 2 treatment. That's kind of reserved for movies like that. I mean, unless Claudio Fragrazzo, goes ahead and listens to the show.
Hey, if he wants to come on...
Oh, we're game.
And that's the other thing too. And that's the other thing too I want to say is, if you are an independent filmmaker and you do have publicity and you want to go ahead and come on our show, I'm open to interviews.
Totally. Well, we're definitely open to that. And
I'm looking at you, Len Kabaczynski.
Yeah.
Come on here.
Yeah, and I mean, we would definitely want to talk about, the filmmaking process as well as the finished product.
Absolutely.
So that's interesting.
Absolutely. So. And I think that a lot of people who listen would be interested by that sort of thing too. So again, if you're an independent filmmaker and you've got a movie and you want it reviewed, send it to us, contact us, smoke signal us, and we will watch it and we will give you a review regardless of whether it's good or not. and we'll try to be as constructive as possible with it and get you the best publicity that you can out of your movie.
Definitely. And if you're not an independent filmmaker and you
You
like
should
the
still-
show,
There you go.
you like the
Plug it.
show, please, please review us on iTunes. That's really helpful
Yes.
to us because it gets us much better placement.
We
and it
wanna
gets
get
the
on
word out
new
a
and
lot more
noteworthy.
quickly. So, just if you guys can review us and, just even if you just say it was good or you guys
was
are
bad.
turds, like just review it,
We can't
let
stress
us know.
enough that we're not saying that we just want good reviews. We want reviews. Now, hopefully, you think the show's good, but if you don't, let us know what we can improve on.
We want your 5 stars, but if we
Absolutely.
don't deserve them, tell us why.
The other thing to do too is, if you like the show, please subscribe to it. That's cool too, because then you get the show automatically the minute I publish it. Day of. Subscribe, review, share it around. Let's try to build the audience as best as we can.
As we said,
So,
slather it upon yourself.
if you could distill this show down into some kind of sunscreen slathered upon yourself, I guess that's what we're saying.
Yep.
And don't forget, it's free, kids. You can't beat free. Just saying.
It's true. It's true.
So if you subscribe to it and then you get the, it's not like you have to pay every time you listen. So you can listen to it. You can't. It's free either way. So.
That's right.
So true.
So true. Well, again, please be sure to subscribe to us and like us on Facebook and Twitter at Psycho Show. If you do have a favorite movie you would like us to review or a question you want to pose to us, contact us at cinemapsychoshow@gmail.com. And as I said, be sure to find us on iTunes, and we're also on Stitcher and Google Play.
Damn right.
And I think it's Blueberry.
Yep, Blueberry's good.
We're on there. We're also
All the
on
internets.
TuneIn.
Woo!
So we're all over the
We're
fucking
everywhere.
place.
You cannot escape.
And be sure to catch our next show, available every Friday. And we'll see you then.
Toodles.